Really a big piece of this work, so we're really excited to start engaging our young youth and get them thinking about careers after graduation. So we have some really great panelists here, and I'm going to introduce them real quickly, and these are some of our guests who are participating as our ICAP pilot schools this year. So just kind of a little background for ICAP. This is a 3-year rollout phase. So ICAP legislation passed last session, which will require all 9th graders in the 2019-2020 year to have an ICAP in order to graduate high school. Our first year, which is this year, we have 39 pilot districts and 60 schools participating and giving us feedback of how this is working, volunteering all of their time, which we greatly appreciate it, so that we can learn from this process. This is a learning pilot process. When we are finished and we're ready to go into full implementation 2019-2020, we will have a series of toolkits from these experts who will be able to tell you about the experience that they've had and the best way to implement that in your school. So we're going to hear a little bit about what they've been doing so far. So first we have Dr. Amy Hudson, Executive Director of Student Services for Jenks Public Schools. We have Donna Morris, English Language Arts and Social Studies Coordinator in Career Technology Programs at Yukon Public Schools, and Jerry Gilstrap, Superintendent of Stillwell Public Schools. I'll be your facilitator, Marissa Lightsey, Program Manager for New Skills for Youth. Just to kind of start off with, I'm going to just go down the line here. If you guys can just tell us a little brief introduction of your program and what you guys have been doing so far.
Okay, I'm Donna Morris from Yukon. And what we started was actually as a result of Career Tech requiring that the students complete ed plans. And so 2 years ago, we added a 6th grade careers class and coupled it with a keyboarding class. Basically, it was 9 weeks of careers and 9 weeks of computers. And that's really where we started, because we knew that ICAP was coming down the road. That was 2 years ago. Last year, our careers class was such a hit that last year we decided to add the 7th and 8th grade component that coupled those two together. So we added a 7th grade careers and an 8th grade careers. And what was really neat about our 8th grade careers class last year is that we utilized the ICAP process. We used Oklahoma Career Guide, and we utilized the ICAP process that allowed our counselors from the high school and our counselors from the middle school to come in and actually enroll our students, our 8th graders, one-on-one for their freshman year in high school. And it was neat because they were actually seeing what our students were interested in, because our students had had a lot of exposure to different types of careers. So they had taken the interest inventory, they had taken the skills inventory, and so when our counselors enrolled our 8th graders for their 9th grade years, they were able to have those one-on-one conversations, which I think really helped our 8th graders and had a little bit better idea of what they were looking at as far as the graduation requirements all the way through. So that was really the way we instituted it. And then this year, that same group of 8th graders, that's our freshman group, and we are an ICAP pilot school, and we're utilizing ICAP in our 9th grade Keystone class, which is coupled with our Oklahoma history class. And we have 6 instructors at the high school level at Yukon High School who teach Keystone. We have 2 instructors who are leading the charge with the ICAP, and the biggest thing I can say is that you need somebody who's going to be passionate about it. And what we've learned through this experience is that a lot of our kids have no idea what the graduation requirements are for our high school. So we've utilized our counselors in our Keystone classes to talk about what those graduation requirements are. They've retaken the interest inventories. They've seen, hey, my interests have kind of changed a little bit. And our instructors have been very instrumental in leading the charge and talking to them and really getting into the career clusters and pushing these kids to make decisions based on their skills rather than just, hey, that class looks cool, I think I'll take it. Oh, and then I think I'll jump over here and I'll take this one. So they really looked at the pathways piece, which has helped our students tremendously, and I look forward to expanding it into the 10th grade next year. I will tell you that the struggle we're having right now is how do we get the parents involved more with this program?
Thank you so much, Jerry.
Well, I don't even know where to begin because we just jumped in full force and we are piloting it in the middle school and the high school, I had actually just randomly gone to a breakout session with Dr. Koss, and I thought, wow, what an opportunity. This is awesome. I want to do this with all of our kids. And I'm going to give you a little background about my district if you don't know Stillwell. We are a high poverty area. Just to say, we have kids that don't have running water. We have kids, we're just number 1 and number 2 in a lot of areas that we don't want to be number 1 and 2 in. So my kids have a hard time seeing themselves in certain positions. And so I could see this just making a difference, a really positive difference in our kids' lives. So we jumped right in. We were already on OK Career Guide, and so we were doing a little bit of that. We have a college and career success coach that meets with our seniors one-on-one. So we already did that. They're going over transcripts. You know, we were already trying to get people involved from the community, bringing them in to speak to our kids, because our kids need to see themselves in those positions. And so to increase that capacity and be able to do that with many kids instead of just 1 grade or 2 grades, we're really excited about that. So we had a foundation for OK Career Guide already. So we embedded time into our day, because the first thing that happened, and if any of you are educators, is my counselors came in and said, this is going to be another job for me, isn't it? You're going to give this to me. And we're going to have to make sure every kid has this program, you know, this plan, this individual plan, and we're going to have to do it all. And I said, no, we're absolutely not. Everybody is going to have to buy in on this. And so we embedded time during the day. We have Indian hour, really across the board, middle school and high school. And so that's time that they can work on the plans. That we use that time for a lot of different things. So it really hasn't upset our schedule. It's worked really well. The kids are having an awesome time, and then for our seniors, we went ahead and jumped in, and we're pushing the kids out to do internships, which has been really exciting for me in that, you know, I'm a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 9, and I've spent a lot of money on college and wasted some money because my oldest son changed majors, I think, 4 times. He's fantastic, though, and he's real successful, I have to say, but I can see this as saving money for parents as well, because they're exploring and they're figuring out what they want to do and what they truly don't want to do. And in the internships, I've already had kids come back in and say, Mrs. Gilstrap, I thought I wanted to be a nurse. I can't do this. I'm going to go home crying every day. I can't do it. Can you move me? And so we've already learned so much just in the first semester. So I have a young man that is interning also at the hospital that thought he wanted to be in one area, and because it's a small hospital, and so he's been able to see all aspects of different fields, and so he's changed his mind about what he wants to do. And those kids that are ambitious, that have gotten through all of their hours, and maybe they just need English in a couple of hours, their internship can be 3 hours. So far, it's just been, I think it's a move that we've needed to make for a long, long time. These kids need they need to work ahead, they need to know what they need to do to work ahead, and we're the facilitators of that, and I see this as a program that can help us do that for our kids. So.
Great, thank you.
I think my name's Amy, I'm a Jinx, and so our journey is a little bit different. We have had a lot of these activities that are college and career focused for several years, and they have not been the most organized. We have 3 different school sites in our pilot program, and I've hit 2 of the 3 sites in the past. And I brought my little chart here because, well, that middle school science teacher just comes out sometimes, and you have to have a visual. But we asked our ICAP team members from each of our sites, what are you currently doing in each of these areas already? And that's where we're finding the holes and that the alignment isn't there. Each of our sites were doing great things for kids, but we weren't using the same vocabulary, we aren't using similar activities. You know, one site might be doing OK College Start, the other one OK Career Guide. which are fine, but we like alignment, and we spend time aligning each of our curriculum areas. And we spend a year on that process in our district. And so this is an area, and we're really excited about the opportunity that we have to really look at these activities that are purposeful for our kids, that really guide them to their future. We've had several members go through a program at UCO with curriculum, leadership, and innovation. And so one of the things that they start with this process is empathy research. And so just like we heard our panelists this morning, each of our ICAP team members, which I think now is about 35 to 40, we provided a set of questions, which after hearing some of the responses, we probably needed different questions. But we went out and asked each of our students in middle school, freshmen, and high school, how is it that you learn? What are your plans for the future? Have you visited those college campuses? What are your dreams? We have advisory in each of our grade levels. Are these activities meaningful? Are you learning things from them? And the responses that we've gotten back so far have been eye-opening. Because we really have to learn and we have to use what they tell us. We can't just come up with activities, because if we did, it had already been done. And then it's, so looking at that, so we are meeting actually on November 20th with this big group of 40 individuals, kind of looking at this, mapping out some of our plan, using the resources that you have given us, provided us, as well as other districts. We have already pulled resources from you guys that we will look at to implement our programs. And then not only just our 7 through 12 program, but our pre-K through 6. You know, there are a lot of districts in the state who really have incorporated college and career readiness at all grade levels and getting them excited. I think last Friday, a lot of our schools dressed in red or orange. Kind of divided last Friday. That would have been a perfect opportunity for us to talk about college and what careers might be at that level. And if you don't root for red or orange, there's another one you can. But I think it's making our teachers aware. One of the things that our students said, because again, we have many different sites, we have many different teachers, is the fidelity of teaching those lessons. And so I think that is going to be a challenge. But again, we've already said it before, you've got to have those right people on board, those teachers that are excited, those opportunities for connections. I know we've got a couple of individuals over here from Jinx, and they've spent time finding career and business opportunities for our teachers to go on field trips, so that when they talk to kids about different career opportunities, even right out of high school, and the money that they can make, it's amazing. But again, we've fostered those examples in our own staff. They're excited about it and can share that with others. So we've got a lot of things planned. Like I said, November 20th, we will be planning with our district team, and then we will have small groups that are kind of really looking at activities, using common terminology. We don't want the activities to look the same, because we don't want them to go as a junior. Oh, I've seen that in 8th grade. It has to be different. It has to look different. It has to feel different. What experience do our students need? So we're working on those internships. We have a few right now. And then resources. I think our kids over and over again have said, what is that step-by-step process? I know I'm a junior or a senior, but I've forgotten what you've said. Where are those available to me that I can look at? And so I think these are all the things that we're going to be looking at. Next school year, we are going to pilot these activities with our ICAP team. And then if they don't work from our feedback, we're going to tweak some things. We're going to make changes so that we can fully implement that 19-20 year.
Perfect. So one question that I think I hear a lot from schools that are either participating in our pilot or not is they don't know how to get started. And what they mean by that is, what did the first meeting we're going to do ICAP look like? Was it during the summer, before we all came back on campus? What did that look like? Can you guys speak to that a little bit?
our first meeting really, like I said, took place with my career tech teachers, first of all. And they talked about what the requirements were of them. And so we basically then took that discussion and went to our middle school principal and said, hey, what would this look like at the middle school level? And those are where our discussions started. And really, it was seriously a matter of just jumping in. There's no real start point. I think the first thing we really chose was, do we want to use College Start? Do we want to use Oklahoma Career Guide? Which vehicle do we want to use? And once we made that decision, then everything else was a matter of, let's learn about the website. Let's learn what's available on that website. What can we do here? So that was really our beginning point. And then we could kind of map out how we were going to implement it. But until you really understand what's available on the websites that you're going to be utilizing for this, I think you're kind of hamstringing yourself right there. So I would say that that's key, is understanding all of the things that are available on these vehicles. You've got to know that.
Perfect. Thank you.
We really did just jump in. And so, but we did meet with the counselors, some of the teachers, the administrative staff, and talked about it, and talked about OK Career Guide. But we have a ICTC right in town, and so we were already familiar with OK Career Guide, so that was the easiest for us to transition to. We already had a college and career success coach that was familiar with that. Our counselors had been to training for that with the local VOTEC, and so that's where we started. They were a little panicked at first because, you know, they just think, well, this is going to be yet another thing, and it's really not. It's embedded and it's critical. So once we had that initial meeting, I think it calmed everybody's nerves, and then it was just a matter of, how are we going to schedule this? How are we going to make this happen and this happen for every student that we have, which we've rolled it out basically 6th through 8th grade and then high school. So everybody's doing one. So it's a full-blown district initiative, really. I mean, everybody has jumped on board and is helping. And so, but my counselors are having to help my teachers because we also have a college class, readiness class, where they work on essays and resumes and things like that. They do a portfolio, all of those preparatory things. And so they were really well versed, the counselors were, with OK Career Guide. So they've been instrumental then in helping the teachers come on board with that. But that's what we started with because, you know, the devil's in the details, and the schedule's real important, how you're going to make it happen.
I kind of think I've shared some of that already, but I do think we have to look at the end goal. We look at legislation, what's required of us, and then we're going to add those other things too that are meaningful, that our kids are saying, we need help with the step-by-step process. We need help with knowing what we're going to do with interest inventory and their strengths. And then providing opportunity and time for them to do that.
The next question that I get quite often is, how did you change the school culture? This is obviously a huge culture shift. What did you do for buy-in? How did you get everybody to the table? And don't be afraid to include business there too, because we know that that is a big piece of this ICAP success.
We're still working on that, to be real honest with you. When you think about, we're a very large school district. We have, not the largest in the state, but we have 2,600 kids in our high school. We have a middle school of 1,900. So it's a big undertaking for us, and I know it is for Jinx as well. But the first step was that teacher buy-in piece. And I think that we've started with our careers teachers. We've started with our middle school careers teachers. We've moved to our Oklahoma history teachers. And I think that they are seeing, the kids love this. They really like this. And I think that these folks are seeing the necessity for this. And just really by word of mouth, it's kind of spreading. I'm going to tell you, though, that, you know, I'm one of these folks who's been in education my entire life. I mean, and I'm going to give away my age here, but basically for 50 years, all I've known is education. And you have a lot of folks in your building who are like that. All they've known is education. So helping with this career piece is very intimidating to a lot of them because all they've ever known is school. So you've got to be cognizant of that as you're presenting it to your staff, and you have to be able to train them in bits and pieces. You're going to have to chunk it for them. I know that there's a movement to use your teachers as your advisors, because you don't want to put everything back on your counselors and make them responsible for this whole piece. It can't work that way. So your teachers are going to have, all of your teachers are going to have to play a vital role in this if it's to be as effective as it can be. So I think that this 3-year rollout is perfect, because as you go, you're going to have to continually train teachers. What is your role in this? How are you going to help the students? Same thing with your business leaders. Once you bring those business leaders in, we want them in the classrooms. We want our students going out to them. But you've got to continue that conversation of, like she was saying, what is the end goal of this? Where do we want these students to end up? And I think that that's the biggest piece of it, is you can't let anything drop from year to year. We are so guilty sometimes of we'll do professional development on one thing at the beginning of the year, we'll touch on it again in the middle of the year, and then, hey, 5 years later we'll go, hey, guess what? We did this back 5 years ago. Oh, you weren't here, sorry. So it's continual, it's chunked, and it's going to be something that's vitally important that as those new people come on board, you get them up to speed, because every teacher in your building is going to play a part in this. And I think that's the most important piece.
Great, thank you.
Well, in the internships I met in the spring, several of us did, with who we could partner with, because we're Stillwell. And I have 650 kids in my high school, so probably polar opposite of you all, but how that works in rural Oklahoma is you utilize who you have. And so we've got bankers, we've got an eye doctor, we've got dentists, we've got, we actually have some people. And so I was surprised who turned out to the meeting. So we had more people than what I thought. And so we've partnered with lots of people, actually. The number one obstacle has been liability for those people, because I've got kids placed in a hospital. And so we've had to go through some MOU situations and things like that, and confidentiality. I had a young man who wants to be an anesthesiologist. Well, I don't know how much of that you're going to actually get to see because of confidentiality. The hospital has been more than wonderful. We even have a young man placed with the DA and a judge, and he came back to me about a week in and he said, I love this, I absolutely love it, but he said, I'll tell you this, I didn't know where we lived. And I said, well, that's because you're just seeing one side of it. And he said, but they see that every day. And I said, yeah, you need to think about that, because do you really want that job? Because that is day in and day out. So I think it's been an eye-opening thing for the partners as well. We've already got our first reviews, evaluations, and I have all those forms, that we send out, because there are plenty of those to cover everything and the parents' approval and all of that. So I have those forms, I think will be posted on the website. So there are obstacles, but I will tell you that it's well worth it. And even if you're a small community, this can so be done, and it makes such a positive impact. And now those partners are even more willing. They're getting to know the kids, and so they're more willing to come in at lunchtime and sit down and eat lunch with those kids and discuss what they do on a daily basis. And so for us, yeah, there's been obstacles, but not as many as I thought. And so the good way overrides those obstacles. It just takes work.
Awesome, thank you.
As far as changing the culture, the activities that we're doing, I think when we change them, it's going to change how our kids look about how they prepare and plan for college and career. And so that's our goal and our hope, is continually having those conversations with them, providing encouragement along the way. And I do hope that the conversation when we have with our students in 2 to 3 years, they're not overwhelmed. They're not going, I don't know where to go. They're having those conversations with their parents on, university or career options and what they can do, and they know where to find those resources. As far as business leaders, as we have these conversations in our district and our community, I think they're getting excited too. And we are fostering some of those relationships right now so that when we are ready to place more students, the size I think is an issue, but we have limited personnel, although we have more on our team, but really providing meaningful opportunities and experiences for our students. So getting our kids out there, I'm excited for what's to come. And I think when they see them out there working and the kids come back going, oh, I had this experience and it means all the world to me, and I can relate that to my science, math, or history class, then I think we will see a shift.
And just one more question before we go to the audience for Q&A. Could you all share at least one or two strategies that you are most proud of so far?
Think about that.
There's so many that you can't narrow it down to one or two.
I think the strategy that we're most proud of is that that middle school program. I think that is going to be key to our success at the high school because they're going to be used to it. They will have had 3 years of career exposure before they get to that level where we move into the career preparedness. So I'm most proud of the fact that we started there and that the teachers that we have understand the importance of this at that middle school level, and that we're able to provide some activities. One of the culminating activities that we did for our 8th graders last year was a career fair at the end of the year. And we had all 16 career clusters represented there. Students got to choose which areas they went into to visit. We had all 4 career pathways. We had a college there, we had military, we had the workforce. We had everybody involved. But at the end of that career fair, we had every student sit down one-on-one with an interviewer. So they went through a mock job interview. And I think that one of the things that really kind of brought this home for us is they were so proud. They were so dressed up. We had boys coming in suits and ties. We had girls coming in. They'd gone out and, or one of them I think was probably wearing her mother's suit. They had gone out and bought dresses for the occasion. They were very proud. We had made up mock jobs for them to apply for. And so I heard several of them in the hallways afterwards going, I got the job. I would have gotten that job. And I think that made it all worthwhile. And that's when our middle school staff, the entirety of our middle school staff said, that's it. We love this. That was the point at which it happened for us. So I think that's what we're most proud of at this point.
Thank you.
I would just say the planning of it, because the planning is really important in how you roll it out to your teachers, because you have to have their buy-in to make it work, because they're the duct tape that holds it all together. Yeah. So you've got to have a good strategic plan of, how are you going to embed it? How are you going to schedule it? How are you going to actually make it work to where it's not just something else they're doing and it's effective throughout your district? And then I would just say, and I think the little video will probably be on your website as well, but I had Patrick Hewling, and he won't care that I say his name, stand up and do a little commentary about his experience with the internship. And he is just so excited, and to see the excitement, because we told those kids as we brought them in, and we only started out with 10 kids. We have 10 kids, and now I have people, kids coming in saying, how did they get to do that? Did you pick them? No. We gave everybody the interest inventory. They had an opportunity to do it, but I don't think they really knew completely what it is, and now we've got all these kids that are wanting to do it. But Patrick, in his video, will tell you he's just so excited and so grateful for the opportunity to be able to do the internship and try to find out what it is he really wants to do. So some of it you really do just have to jump in there, but really your strategic plan of how you're going to get the ICAPs done with your faculty, your staff, I think is probably the most important. For us, it was anyway.
I think a couple of things I'm really excited about is our teamwork and really working with our teachers, administrators, 7 through 12 to come up with meaningful activities and resources for our students, and all having that same conversation. but I don't know, I kind of really enjoy talking to the students. You know, when you connect with the student and you really ask them those questions that are geared toward their future, and then you have ways and suggestions to help them, and you can tell when you have that conversation with them. It's kind of like when you're teaching something new and those light bulb moments and you're like, yes, I made a difference. It's those kind of conversations that we have with our kids, and if we can provide that for our students 7th through 12th grade, I think that's what's going to drive us and continually motivate us through this whole process.
Okay, so during this portion, we're going to take questions from the audience. I won't call in anyone's name, even though I do know most of you are here because I did see the registration. So any questions you have, we do have a mic that will be going around, so if you can hold your hand high so that she knows where to find you. She'll come right on over.
Mark Mattingly from Lawton. I heard you, the skills trap, you said every student's doing one. We talked about internships, we've talked about career exploration classes, different things. What exactly, what do you define as an ICAP? I'm familiar with OK Career Guide. Are you looking at the grad plan that you create in it? Is an ICAP in the mind of you three, is an ICAP a combination of multiple activities? What exactly are you defining as an ICAP?
The ICAP is the plan. It's in OK Career Guide, but it's at different levels for different levels of children. And so basically, you know, it's not going to be near as in-depth because, you know, if a 6th grader's looking at that, if they're just getting started, we're happy with that. Because, you know, by the time they're a freshman, they're going to have changed their mind 4 times, you know, which is a good thing because they're learning more and more. So really, we're just trying to give them a taste of that at the lower levels, but then as they progress, you know, we're basically looking at it as their college, how you do a college degree plan. This is their high school degree plan to prepare them for that. And so we're hoping, and I didn't mention, because I think all of us could probably talk forever, we love our kids and our districts, but we offer 27 hours of concurrent enrollment. And so, you know, any degree plan that they have, hopefully, and that's on campus actually, because we're in NSU's back door, so we're really blessed in that fact. They can use that for gen ed, but then there are some of those courses that, you know, they need to strategically plan, which is part of this process, to have a high school degree plan to prepare them for what exactly they want to do. And hopefully, by the time they're, I'm going to say sophomore, junior, we're really hoping that they have some idea of what path they want to take so they can strategically be taking those courses. So as they go up, and I hope that answers it, you know, they're doing a little bit and they're adding, they're tweaking it, they're changing it, and they're adding, but hopefully by the time they're a sophomore, they've got an actual plan. Does that answer it?
And I think something else I'll jump in is that an ICAP is a process. So it involves several different activities, whether that exploration involves OK Career Guide or OK College Start, or work-based learning where I'm exploring, or if it's rigorous coursework where it's concurrent enrollment or dual credit. Though it's a multi-level process, so it's not just that one little piece of paper where we're checking off a box. It involves several different people and several different processes.
Yes.
So, yeah, great. Any other questions? Good questions. No, you don't have to stand.
This is more for UConn.
Okay.
I just wanted to get an idea about like your numbers as far as the 9th grade goes, and I mean, does every single 9th grader have it? Because I think we're supposed to be doing it next year, and I'm scared. So
I will tell you, it's really nothing to be scared of, but yes, every single 9th grader has it. We have over 600 9th graders, and it's one semester of Keystone, which is where we have it housed right now, utilizing Oklahoma Career Guide. They go through some of the modules in there because there is a curriculum associated with Oklahoma Career Guide. How many of you are familiar with Oklahoma Career Guide? Okay, or Oklahoma College Start, either of those? both of those are tremendous vehicles, but everything that we're doing is housed in there. So over 600 of them throughout the day. Like I said, we have 6 instructors, and they basically do the same things as we move through. The first thing they do when they go in is we go in and we renew their accounts, because remember, they had them as 8th graders. Okay, some of them got pretty wild. Some of them had 3 or 4 or 5 accounts. So the first thing we do as 9th graders this year is we went in and we said, pick one. Which one are you really going to work with? And I think that's one of the things that you're going to have to kind of keep a handle on, because it'll really skew your data if you're looking at data as well. So which one is your true account? Which one are you going to continue to use? That was the very first thing we did. Okay. Then we went in and they took the skills inventory and the interest inventory again. And we wanted them to compare those 2 inventories. So we did a little compare contrast. Did your interest change? Did your skill set change? Did some of those outcomes change? You know, maybe last year it said you would be better in a government kind of position. Maybe this year you're moving more into the STEM. You know, so some of those students' interest and skill sets changed drastically over the summer. So we wanted to take a look at that and compare and contrast. And then from there we went into some of the modules, career modules within, and then they explored a great deal of the aspect of Oklahoma Career Guide, and they went in and they did a lot of research on some of the jobs that they might be interested in. And one of the things that's really cool about that is you can really get a wide range view of the career in which you may be interested in. You were talking about being a nurse earlier. You have a lot of kids who'll say, well, I want to be a nurse. Well, what kind? Or I want to be an engineer. Well, what kind? And they're like, I don't know, I just want to be one. So when you go into Oklahoma Career Guide, then they can kind of narrow that down. I want to be a nurse. Okay, well, there are about 23 different types of nurses listed when you really get in and you do some exploration and you do some research. So we spent a lot of time with our 9th graders looking at that before they actually went in and built their ed plan. Building their ed plan was actually one of the last things that we did with our 9th graders this semester.
So I think we have time for one more question. Okay, 2 more questions. I lied, sorry.
I was just going to add to the UConn plan. One of the beauties of what they're doing at UConn is in that Keystone class, you correct me if I'm wrong,
yes, ma'am,
is that they're also including their personal financial literacy in
yes,
that class, and they're including their CPR training in that class. Some of those required things that,
yes,
that you have to have. Is that right? You're putting it in that class?
Yes, we have that. We have, you're exactly right, we have our personal financial literacy, we have CPR, we have all of those required things pretty much into that classroom. And I'll tell you what we found with my instructors at Keystone, what they found is that the personal financial literacy piece and the ICAP piece fit really, really well together. So that's kind of been a fortunate, you know, discovery for us this year, and it's worked out tremendously well.
Okay, one more question.
Sorry, I don't know if you've done this yet since you're doing the pilot year, but my question was about, I know you guys were talking about planning it all out and things ahead of time, and I know you have to have a policy with like, and from what I've heard, each school comes up with their own policy and how you're going to conduct this whole ICAP thing. So I was just kind of wondering if you guys have already worked on that, maybe what your policy is, how you're conducting it, or how you do that.
You do that too? I mean, we did too, but go ahead.
Our team right now is, we're working on that as we go through it. We have a district level team that's working on the policy. We don't have that in place right now. It's not a finished product. I don't think that we'll really have a good finished product until the end of next year, the next school year, because this is a 2-year pilot program, and we're going to take every advantage of that before we put it down in writing.
Really, we had to work ahead on the intern piece because you're rolling kids out to different places. So, and we borrowed an awful lot of stuff from Caitlin Cootie from Hilldale, from Don Riley from Pryor. Just like every good teacher, when you see another good teacher, you just steal it. And normally a good teacher will allow you to do that. And so we tweaked it, and I've learned things from Dr. Cootie and Dr. Riley, and so they kind of worked through some glitches. So I have like 14 pages of forms for the intern program. For the ICAP piece, we've looked at what other people have done, but we're basically doing the same thing because we're a pilot, and we're working it out too. And I'm sure it's going to look different at every district because it just will. You're going to have to figure out what works for your faculty and staff and what will be the most effective. So they'll probably look a little different. But
that's one of the things I'm worried about because it is individual for each school. So, kids transfer schools a lot, and so, how will that,
yeah.
I know you guys haven't
Well,
had to deal with that yet, so.
That's the beauty, though, of OK Career Guide, really, because, hopefully, they can use OK Career Guide, or
the framework.
or it's kind of the same. Different, but the same. So hopefully that piece will transfer, I would hope.
And I will also say that we do have our materials, our beginnings of our framework that is available on our website along with all of their materials, and we are still adding things from our pilot schools as well. So everything that they're talking about you can get to on our website, and that's the New Skills for Youth website. So you get to that. The quickest way is to go to the State Department of Education's website and use the search bar to look for New Skills for Youth. That will be the first link that pops up. You will go there, and there will be materials for all of our pilot schools, as well as materials from today's conference. I want to say thank you to you all for volunteering to do this. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are the leaders in this work. So if you want to thank our panelists here. And I think at this time you all are dismissed for a short 15-minute break. I will